Hi YouTube, it's me again. I know it's been a while, but I haven't really felt the need to post anything. But today I've been thinking about something that God did for me a couple years ago. Um, I actually lost my daughter for about a total of 8 months. Like I didn't lose her, but I kind of lost her because my ex-husband and I were co-parenting at the time. We were living separate lives. Um, I was dating people. He had a relationship where he was dating somebody for a while. They were living together. She was pregnant at the time, and we had just got comfortable with co-parenting with each other. But he would contact me to so that we could be together as husband and wife. And of course, that was like a difficult point because I wanted us to get back together, but he had other plans. And it was this one specific day that we had planned to be together. And I was going to probation. Like, I had probation visits because I had gotten locked up a while back. And he told me that he would take me to one of those visits. And I was like, okay, cool. So, afterwards we can just, go somewhere or something. And when he picked me up, his girlfriend was in the car. And I just figured, she just knew what was going on. So she figured that she was going to come and try to, foil the plans a little bit. But, of course, things happened anyway, like after she had gone to work. But because of that, like the fact that she was there, I didn't want to be in my right mind. So I decided to take some pills so that I could, be high, because I didn't want to think about the fact that my husband was in a relationship with somebody else, and after this we're going to separate and part ways. I didn't want to think about that. So that's what I did. And he actually used that against me because he knew I was going to do that because we were going to do it together. But I decided that I didn't want to share with him because he was driving and our daughter was in the car. So I didn't feel comfortable with him doing something like that at the time. So I said no. So he actually used it against me and said that, I was like an unfit mother and I was doing drugs, and I would have them to where our daughter could get a hold of them so that, she'll get hurt or something, knowing that that was never true. But there was nothing I could say at the time because, it was true that I did do them at that moment. But yeah, so I would consider him to be like a tit for tat individual. So like, I had never done this to him, but I don't know why he decided to do that, but he did that. And he used that as an excuse to not bring her back one night that we were exchanging her. He would come pick her up from my house, and everything was cool. There was no issues or anything like that. But after a while, on this specific day, I feel like it was in it's been so long I forget the month, but for a long time I remembered exactly the date that it happened. But that day he picked her up and just refused to bring her back, and I didn't know how to feel about it at first. I was just like, like, what do you mean? Like, he wouldn't tell me where they were, where they lived, nothing. And it sent me into a really deep depression, like a really, really deep depression. I was like thinking like, I'm gonna have to live my life without her. It would be wrong for me to get remarried and have more kids because, you know, I have a daughter out there somewhere that I can't see. So I felt like I couldn't. So I would just live my life and try to explain it to her later when she was old enough to see me for herself. That's how I was thinking. Like, I was just gonna have to live my life that way. But during this time, all I did was drink. Like, I would drink myself into like really terrible times. But I was not praying or anything during this time. I wasn't praying. I wasn't reading the Bible. I wasn't going to church. Nothing like that, because I couldn't bring myself to do it in my own power, like my own strength, I should say. But my mom and my stepdad were definitely praying about it. I would try to do things to, like, with the law. I would try to do things with the law to see what I could do about the situation. Like, I went to a lawyer, talked to them about what was going on, and they were just like, oh, well, since you guys are still married, he's got all rights to the child, so there's really nothing you could do about it. So I was just like, so the best thing I could do is to get a divorce. And of course I was thinking about divorcing him anyway, because he was in a whole relationship with somebody else. She was pregnant. They were living together. They had like their whole little family. So I was just like, oh, okay. He's just trying to cut me out of the picture, knowing good and well I wanted to be there. But yeah, so I was dealing with that. No matter how much I contacted him, and even her, I would contact her as well, because, her being a woman, I figured she would kind of feel where I'm coming from, but absolutely not. That was not the case at all. She would take his side completely, talk about how I was probably an unfit mother. Oh, you do drugs, this, and that. I don't like people who do pills, that stuff, that kind of stuff. Oh, you're not allowed in our home. And I'm just like, all I want to do is pick up my kid. I don't care about what y'all got going on. I just want to see my daughter, because that's my child, So I filed a police report, and that cop, even though it wasn't something that he was supposed to be able to do, he was like, he's getting in the way of, what is it, the custody process or something like that. Because during times like these, like separations, the child is with the mom by default, because usually that's the case. Like, the kids always go with the mom. So, I successfully filed that report, but I never heard anything back, of course. I filed for divorce, and it passed through that January of the following year. And even during all of this stuff, I was really sad that we had to divorce, because, I wanted things to work out, because, we had a motto where we said to each other, we don't get divorced. And then we ended up getting divorced. And to think about the fact that he had the nerve to be upset with me for divorcing him, and I'm just like, you had a whole relationship with somebody, she's pregnant. How are you upset with me for getting a divorce? Anyway, he told me that the only way I could see her is if I had things to give her, like diapers, food, clothes, stuff like that. Because that's something that my mom told him, back to that tit for tat thing. He didn't understand why these things were going on, but that's what I had to tell him, because since I was living with my mom, I couldn't go against what she was saying, because it would cause a whole uproar in the home. So all I did was tell him what my mom said. She said, you can't come see her unless you have something to give her. I didn't agree with that at all, because I was just like, it's more important for her dad to see her than it is for him to bring her things. Like, I don't care about that, and neither does she. She's a baby. So, that would cause a lot of animosity between both of us, me and him. And, he figured that I was just trying to make it hard for him to see our daughter. But no, that wasn't the case at all. I was just trying to respect my mom's home, because she was really upset with how things went. And, of course, that's still not a reason, because, you shouldn't let your emotions get in the way of somebody else's situation, But, was what it was at the time, and there was really nothing I could do about it at the time. Of course, when I spoke to a lawyer and told them about that, they were just like, yeah, she shouldn't be able to do that because that's not her situation, and you guys are supposed to be able to co-parent without anybody else involved. True. So that's what he told me, that, same thing. I couldn't see her unless I had something to contribute. And I would have things to contribute because I understood that he was doing that to get back at me. And I would tell him, I understand you're doing this to get back at me because why else would you be doing this? And of course he would deny it. And yeah, but whoops. Well, we're going in the dark right now. Lost my train of thought. Yeah, so I would after a while I started babysitting for my godmother, and I was telling her about the situation, and she was just like, "Oh no, you gotta do something about that because you can't just allow him to do these things to you." And I'm just like, I'm not allowing anything. It just the law, I can't. There's nothing I can do unless I like literally track them down and then snatch her back. Eventually that's what I ended up having to do. But I didn't want to do it that way because that's such a messy thing to do. But I ended up calling Child Protective Services to see. I just wanted them to be able to check on her to make sure that she was all right because he wouldn't tell me anything. At one point, he even told me to stop calling and messaging him about her, and I was just like, why would you say that? Why would you say that to me? Because that's one thing I never said to him, because that's irrational. But they told me that she was all right. I originally called because she was missing her doctor's appointments, and I figured he wasn't taking her to those appointments because he knew that I knew where that doctor, his practice was, because I was the one who set it up. So, they would let me know what was going on, and he just didn't want that to happen. So, after that phone call that I made to Child Protective Services, he set up an appointment with someone new. And I think if I'm recalling this correctly, they told me that, she was going to get another appointment, and that was cool. I just wanted to know if she was good. Previously to all this, well, not previously, but during all of this mess, while he was still contacting me, we were planning for her first birthday because her first birthday was coming up, and I wanted to take her to the beach and have like vegan desserts and stuff because I wanted to start her off vegan early. But then her birthday rolled around and he didn't tell me anything at all. Like, he didn't allow me to see her during that time, and it was just like, well, that's her first birthday. Like, why would you take away her first birthday from me? Like, I would have never done that to you. So that really, really hurt. That really hurt me because that's her first birthday. My first daughter's first birthday, I couldn't even be there because he wouldn't allow me to. So I'm losing hope at this point because I can't see her. I don't know where she is. I don't know where she lives. I don't know who she's around. Nothing. And it was really heavy on me and my family. My great grandmother passed during that time, and she couldn't even get to see her before she went. I told him about that too because I wanted her to come with me to the funeral at least. I also wanted her to see her before she passed as well because she was asking to see her, but I couldn't even allow that to happen. Well, those are the wrong words. I just couldn't do it because I didn't have her. So all I did was work and drink. Yeah, but there were a lot of days where I would just cry about it because there was nothing I could do. And then there was this one day, pause, rewind. When I was talking to my godmother, she was like, "Oh, well, you guys gonna have to like go online, type in their information, find like addresses and stuff like that." And we had actually found an address for his ex-girlfriend for, and it was like right across the street from where they were at the time. And so that means we were like that close to finding her, but it was a previous address. So, you know, my godmother was like, "Oh, well, we're gonna have to like roll up on them one day, you know, just keep our eyes open and just grab her one day." I talked to a police officer and told them about what was going on, and they were like, "Yeah, well, there's nothing that we can do to help the situation. However, if you see them and, you know, you walk up to them, you know, reach for the child, she reaches back, and you have her in your arms, you don't have to give her back. So that is up to you, and there's nothing we can do about it, and you wouldn't get in trouble for it." So I was just like, okay. So in the event that we see them and I get to hold her, that's it. So yeah, so there was this one day I went downstairs. I was staying with my grandmother at the time, and there was a piece of mail there for me. And it was to the parent of Aya Kaysen. And she on the envelope, my name was spelled wrong, the address was wrong, and no one even knew that I was staying there because I wasn't really on the lease. I wasn't really getting any mail there. And yeah, so no one knew how to spell my name either, because the spelling of my name is actually a little more unique, because my name isn't Jasmine, it's Jasmine. So you know, I opened it and it told me where she was going for her new appointment, where it was, when it was, and you know, yeah. So I called my family, told them about what was going on, and they were just like, "Okay, cool. Well, we'll come with you, so you know, we can get her that day." And I just know that my mom was praying during this time because she was so hurt. But yeah, she we went there and we spoke to the cop, told them what was going on, told them what we were about to do, and they were just like, "Okay." We went in the office. They called my phone and asked me where we were at because they thought that I was them. And, you know, they were asking me if they were still coming. And I was like, "Yeah, we're still coming." And they were just like, "Who's this?" And I was like, "It's her mom." And they were just like, "Oh, didn't we just speak to you?" And I was like, "No, you didn't." And that just tells me that at the time she was, you know, calling as her mother, which got on my nerves because really. But you know, I don't really fault her for those things because I know that he was like telling her a bunch of lies to get her to be completely on his side on that. But me and her actually made amends on this specific thing after she had her son, because you know, she finally understood where I was coming from and how I was feeling, or how I could have possibly been feeling, because you know, it hasn't happened. Well, it didn't happen to her, and I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So yeah, so we were waiting in the lobby, and he came in and we walked up. I saw her, reached for her, she reached back, grabbed her in my arms, and then we walked away. And at first he was like, wait, what's going on? And then he realized that I wasn't about to give her back. So, he's walking out. We're walking out. He calls for his girlfriend at the time. She comes out. I get in the car. We drive off. My dad and my cousin came and blocked the way, so he couldn't get to me at the time. And after that, I had her, and it really felt weird because I haven't seen her in 8 months. I can't even imagine how traumatic that experience was for her as well, because first she was seeing her mom every day just about, and then all of a sudden nothing. They would always tell me about how she would cry for no reason, and I'm just like, how would she be crying for no reason? You don't think that it's because she misses her mother? She hasn't seen her mom in months. Of course she's gonna be crying for no reason because she misses her mom. He also said that she refused to walk, and the Holy Spirit had told me that she would walk when she got home because she wanted me to see that. And sure enough, after about a week of having her, she started walking, and it was a really surreal experience. But I knew that God was certainly looking after her, because anything could have happened, because I don't know what kind of company they were having. But this brings me back to a sermon that I was listening to. I think it was at church, and they were talking about how I might be remembering this wrong, but if you are blessed, those around you are blessed. The blessings spread out, basically. So the fact that my mom was praying for the whole situation, praying for me, praying for my daughter, even though I wasn't doing anything of the sort to even deserve that to happen, it still happened. And to this day, I still think about it. I'm not angry about it anymore, at all, because, things happen. People feel the way that they do, act on those things, and it creates a lot of problems. But it's just that's that's a small testimony compared to the others. Nope, I'm lying. I think this is the biggest one. But I say this to say that that was a miracle, because that piece of mail wasn't supposed to make it to me, but it did anyway. People might downplay the things that God could do for you, especially in these days, because I always hear, oh, where are these big miracles that Jesus was doing before, with the 5 fish and the 2 loaves, or the 2 loaves and the 5 fish. I'm not sure what the order of that was, but God still does miracles, because that was a miracle. And yeah, I was thinking about that while I was at work, and I was like, that is a really important part of my testimony and my story. So I decided that I was going to share you guys that story, because it'll, put the pieces together for the other stuff as well. I just realized that now these things might be a lot of out of order, because I was trying to do them in order, as to I was trying to do things in order according to the way that my life went, but I needed to share this one today. So Yeah, God still works miracles, and if someone near you is blessed, you may be blessed from them being blessed, because you never know who's praying for you. Um, yeah, but that was a really amazing thing that God did for me.